Mahu. It's still the month of March. And when you hear March, it's the month of women. We still celebrate our mothers, celebrate women around the world, women workers, women employers, women in government functionaries, women delivering care jobs all around the world, women in health sector, women teachers, women engineers, all of you, we celebrate you. Happy International Women's Month. Now, the development in between the US and Iran and Israel has resulted to a call for cola to Nigerian workers. And this man is the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress. He has a statement where he wants the government to pay workers the cost of living allowance. That is apart from the wage award the government of that country promised some years ago. Also in our package today, unions in European countries are advocating for 4 working days in a week. Why are they calling for that? We'll bring you up to speed with that. Also, we'll give you a little track from the president of the Nigerian Union of Teachers. You'll be shocked to know that teachers also are on the top rank of those who are jackbarring from Africa, not only from Nigeria, from Africa. So we'll give you that in our Let's Talk segment.
Did you know? Did you know?
My name is Mohammed Megardi Gadi, the Minister of Labor and Employment. You are watching the Tripartite program on AIT.
Welcome back. So as we told you in the opening, we'll play a statement by the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress calling for cola for Nigerian workers. Let's enjoy that.
The Nigerian Labour Congress says it is voicing the collective anguish of millions of Nigerian workers bearing the brutal cost of what calls a global capitalist crisis they did not create. That is the military escalation involving the United States, Israel and Iran, which has sent shockwaves through global oil markets. A statement by NLC President Joe Ajaero said, consequently, petrol prices in Nigeria have skyrocketed to between 1,170 naira and 1,300 naira per litre, noting that it is a direct assault on the Nigerian people. The NLC said while imperialist rivalries play out with bombs abroad, Nigeria's working class is bombarded with poverty and hunger because the leaders have refused to ensure that public refineries are operational. And so the Middle East crisis has brutally exposed the fragility of Nigeria's downstream sector, tearing off the mask of those who claimed local refining made the country immune. The NLC added that the Dangote refinery has adjusted its prices in lockstep with global volatility. passing the burden directly to the masses, which makes a lie of comfortable narratives about meeting domestic demand. As long as Nigeria remains dependent on market-driven pricing structure tied to global vicissitudes and refuse to bring its public assets to life, the country will remain hostages to wars and speculators. While the NLC uses the statement to warn of the danger of sabotaging the country's refineries to create a monopoly, the Middle East crisis should act as a wake-up call for the managers of the economy, adding that no nation achieves economic freedom by exporting jobs and importing prices. It said the government must immediately halt the vandalism of public sector and bring the Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refineries back on stream, not as a favor, but as a right of the Nigerian people to cushion themselves from hostile global order. Organized labor reviewed that the cost of PMS and AGO has made transportation a noose around workers' necks. Food inflation is galloping, and meager wages are being swallowed by the induced scarcity. Labor argues that when a worker cannot afford to go to work, the economy stops. When a family cannot afford 3 meals a day, society sits on a keg of gunpowder. Organized labor used the statement to demand an immediate intervention, noting that it is the duty of the state to act to prevent the agony of its citizens and not to wring its hands on hopelessness, mouthing the Middle East war. The statement reveals that latest forecast by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, shows that Nigeria stands to reap about 30 trillion naira oil windfall from the Middle East crisis. The Nigeria Labour Congress used a statement to demand the following: an immediate wage award and cost of living allowance for all workers to cushion the high cost of living, as current wages are stipends of starvation. An expansion and overhaul of cash transfers to ensure transparency and that they reach the most vulnerable with increased value to match inflation. Immediate tax reliefs for workers and a stoppage of all regressive taxes on low-income earners, including the proposed tax on informal economy, as taxing the minimum wage is extortion. A timeline for the full-scale operationalization of all public refineries, adding that the Nigerian state must be held accountable for billions spent on turnaround maintenance. Other demands are that the about 30 trillion naira only oil windfall expected to accrue to Nigeria as a result of the current Middle East war must not grow wings like the Gulf oil windfall, but should be invested in Nigerian people. It should be used to cushion the negative effects of the crisis in Nigerian people, and the government must engage in sincere social dialogue with Nigerian workers and the broader citizenry, and using the Middle East war as an excuse to further impoverish Nigerians is unacceptable.
Let's quickly take you to the Nigerian Union of Teachers event they had. They usually have this solemn assembly every year to welcome teachers to the year. And we had an interaction with the president on what has he got to say about teachers' welfare and why teachers are moving from Nigeria and from Africa.
So we, as leaders of Nigerian teachers, will continue to agitate, talk to government that there is a need that the teaching profession be taken to the next level in terms of welfare. Let it be so attractive that we don't need to look for people to come. People will be looking to join teaching profession, as it were. Let it not be the last resort for any graduate elsewhere, because that has been the trend that is happening. Any graduate that must have graduated from the university or any tertiary institution, once he stays 1, 2, 3, 4 years, you will see people saying that, oh, why can't you go and pick teaching? Why are you staying idle? Go and pick even teaching. Can't you go? No, teaching has supposed to be seen as a profession where qualified and experienced and intelligent people supposed to be engaged to teach our peoples. Countries that have gotten it right in terms of education place emphasis and priority in education, place emphasis and priority in teachers' welfare. If you go to countries like Finland, Denmark, Sweden, all over, you'll find out that teaching profession is being rushed. That is why even in Nigeria today, you see the Japa syndrome. Even we are thinking it was only on the health care that people are jappering out of the country. But it is now obvious that if you go outside the shoe of this country, you find out that even teachers are looking for the way of going outside the country. Even within our neighboring African countries, not even Europe. That's to say that the system there is working better than us here. So we need to come back to the drawing board to make sure that welfare of teachers in Nigeria is adequately taken care of. Improve salary package for teachers, improve social welfare for teachers, improve health care services for teachers, conducive learning environment for our pupils and also teachers. Because you find that in our localities today, pupils are seated in a bare floor. A teacher will be teaching without a seat that he will sit down to even mark the scripts of his pupils. So it's alarming. So government is trying, but they need to do more. Because education, there shouldn't be dichotomy in times of education. If you are improving the welfare package for lecturers, who groom those students that the lecturers are teaching? Is the teachers from the primary level. I wouldn't like to use the word misplaced priority because every sector deserved it. Do you understand me? But that's why it is called basic education. If it is gotten rightly at the basic level, at the tertiary level and university, it's just a washout. It's just because the primary school teachers, the secondary school teachers, that's why they are called teachers. They teach. In the university, they say they are lecturers. They lecture. They come in and talk, and it ends there. But we teach you. That's how we have a slogan. We teach you, don't cheat us. They say, if you can write your name, thank who? No, I want you to mention it.
Thank your teacher.
Thank your teacher. But they didn't say thank your lecturer. Thank your teacher. So the teacher is key. Because the teacher, after the parents at home, who next? Is the teacher. Here we are today with parents having a lot of issues on them. One day I was leaving my house around 5:30 in the evening. I saw parents queuing up to pick their small children. I was asking my wife, I said, you mean these children have been here since morning? She said, you don't know that this is like a nanny school where the parents come in the morning and drop their kids, come back in the evening after work to come and pick them. So after parents, the next person is who? Is the teacher. All of us here, we are doing the same thing. All of us, we have relinquished our responsibility to the teacher. Because if a child does anything wrong, you may likely say, I'll report you to your teacher tomorrow. It's happening up to this moment. You find out that the child will now become a little bit sober and remorse. That is how it is. But what attention is being given to that very teacher? That is the question.
Festus Osifo, President Pengasan, President TUC. You are watching Tripartite on AIT.
All right, welcome back. Now it is time for global update on labor matters. And as I told you in the opening, a lot of European countries' workers are advocating 4 working days in a week.
the National Public Service Negotiating Council, NPSNC, has demanded a 154,000 naira minimum wage from the current 70,000 naira, a 120% upward review of salaries and allowances for public workers in Nigeria to mitigate what it described as the life of servitude currently being experienced in the country. The demand was contained in a letter addressed to the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, dated March 12, 2026, titled Urgent Need for the Upward Review of Salaries and Allowances for Workers in Nigerian Public Service and Commendation for the Approval of Gratuity Payment to Retiring Workers. The letter said despite their immense contributions, public service workers continue to face severe economic hardship due to the rising cost of living and the declining purchasing power of their earnings. The workers' group noted that over the years, Nigeria has experienced unprecedented economic pressures characterized by high inflation, increased fuel prices, rising transportation costs, and escalating prices of food items, housing, healthcare, and education. A story by Luxembourg Times says Luxembourg's industrial companies plan to hire more than 3,000 workers over the next 2 years, according to the results of a biennial survey published on Wednesday by Industry Federation FEDIL that suggests a sharp increase in recruitment plans across the sector. The study projects 3,027 hires, based on responses from 92 companies employing 42,397 workers. Of the projected recruitment, 1,715 positions, 56.7%, would be newly created jobs, while 1,312, 43.3%, would replace workers leaving the sector. The forecast marks a significant increase compared with the previous edition of the survey. The UK's financial landscape is undergoing a significant transformation in 2026. For millions of workers across the country, the most impactful change comes in the form of the annual pay rise mandated by the government. As of April 1, 2026, the new national minimum wage and national living wage rates have officially come into effect, bringing a much-needed boost to bank accounts during a time of persistent economic pressure. Whether you are a young person entering the workforce for the first time, an experienced professional over 21, or an apprentice learning a trade, these changes will directly affect your monthly take-home pay. Understanding these rates is not just about knowing your worth, it is about ensuring that your employer is complying with the latest legal requirements. This move follows recommendations from the Low Pay Commission, LPC, which has been tasked with keeping the minimum wage aligned with 2/3 of the median hourly earnings in the UK. While 4.1% might seem modest compared to the double-digit jumps of previous years, it reflects a stabilization in the economy while still ensuring that the lowest-paid workers see a real terms improvement in their standard of living while the adult rate has seen a solid rise. The real story of 2026 lies in the youth rates. In an effort to narrow the gap between different age groups, workers in the 18 to 20 age bracket are entitled to a minimum of £10.85 per hour. This is a significant shift from just a few years ago, when young adults were paid substantially less than their older colleagues for the same work. The policy goal here is clear: to move toward a single adult rate in the future, ensuring that age becomes less of a factor in how much a person earns for an hour of labor. Meanwhile, a report by The Guardian UK says according to a cross-section of business leaders, British companies are struggling to afford to hire young people after a long period of rising costs that have hit profit margins and derailed recruitment plans. Rising labour costs, including increases to the minimum wage and employers' national insurance by the government, have put young people at the back of the queue when employers consider recruitment, business lobby groups told members of Parliament, MPs. They added that the Employment Rights Act threatened to make the situation worse if it discouraged employers from taking the risk of hiring young people with fewer skills, or without a long track record in the workplace. The British Chambers of Commerce, BCC, expects the unemployment rate to rise to 5.5% this year and said young people would be disproportionately affected. The Office for National Statistics said last month that the rate of unemployment was 5.2% in the 3 months to the end of December, with almost 1.9 million people affected. Figures for 16 to 24-year-olds showed 957,000 were out of work. In 2024, 6 articles were published covering recent developments in Austria, Iceland, and the Nordic countries, Denmark, Finland, Norway and Sweden, Spain and Portugal, followed by UK and Ireland, and finally on Poland, Czechia, Slovakia and Hungary. In 2025, a case study on France and Belgium was published. The first case study of 2026 focuses on Germany and Greece, two cases where movement on working time is moving backwards, not forwards. In 2024, the Congress of the European Trade Union Confederation committed to support campaigns for reduced working time and to put control of working time flexibility in the hands of the worker. The debate about shorter working time has also been given momentum by the Global 4-Day Week campaign and its various pilot projects across Europe and North America. The issue is also generating discussions across the public services. EPSU affiliates in several countries have taken initiatives to campaign for and negotiate reductions to working time. The Belgian government is preparing a reform that would allow the 38-hour full-time working week to be calculated as an annual average rather than per week. This means workers could be required to work longer hours during busy periods without receiving overtime pay as long as their total hours average out to 38 per week over the year. The proposal is intended to give employers more flexibility in organizing work schedules. However, unions warned that it would effectively eliminate paid overtime and undermine workers' rest time, income security, and ability to plan their lives. ACV has strongly criticized the plan, calling it particularly worrying. Union warned that workers would lose both compensation and control over their working time, undermining health, family life, and fair treatment. ACV also denounced the lack of proper consultation with unions before advancing the reform. At the same time, ABVV has renewed its long-standing demand for a collective reduction of working hours to 32 hours over 4 days, with full pay and additional hiring. The union argues this would improve work-life balance, reduce inequality, and support decent job creation. It insists that the measure is both economically feasible and socially necessary, especially given the strong profits reported by many companies. Nigerian workers have opportunity to get their own homes as the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria and the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF, are partnering to unlock affordable housing opportunities for Nigerian workers through their statutory contributions to both institutions. This was the outcome of the meeting between the management teams of the two agencies at the headquarters of the Federal Mortgage Bank in Abuja. While the Federal Mortgage Bank team was led by its managing director, Chief Executive Shu Osidi, the NSITF team was led by Deo Alau and Director of Finance and Investment, Olufemi Samuel Aodil, who represented the managing director, Chief Executive, Barrister Olawezan Faili. They agreed that contributions from both government agencies could be strategically harnessed to deliver housing projects that directly benefit workers, while also addressing the housing challenges many employees face after retirement.
I am Comrade Peter Esele. You are watching the Tripartite, the government, workers, and employers roundtable.
I am Comrade Ayuba Waba, the 6th President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, and also former President of the International Trade Union Confederation globally. You are watching the Tripartite on AIT.
I am Hassan Simon, Nigerian President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, and former Secretary General of the Organization of African Trade Unions. You are watching the Tripartite program on AIT.
Oh, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this package today. Don't forget that this program is open for sponsorship, partnership, collaboration, and support. Do follow us on our socials as displayed on the screen. And don't forget, the number there is for WhatsApp message only. I am Abulu Osemwahu. Thank you for investing your time with us, and let's do this again.